Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions. Today, I'm joined by Josh Nelson. Super excited to have him. He's the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO, which is a seven-figure digital marketing agency that does over 4 million now in annual revenue.
Yeah, we're 4 million.
That's fantastic. He's also the founder of the Seven Figure Agency, which is a coaching group that teaches marketers how to grow businesses that do over 1 million in sales. Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Stoked to be here.
Josh, I know you just had a great event that Sean and Robin were at. How many people did you have down there?
So I think we had about 62. It was one of our member events. We get together and just share best practices and talk about how to grow and scale our agencies.
Well, I know it went really well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But first, I want to talk about, the origin story, right? I know that you are a fan of niching down, obviously. But what I don't know is, was plumber and HVAC born in a niche, or did you guys start out more broad?
Great question. So yeah, we started broad like everybody else. Our company was Click Incorporated, and it was just going to be a local internet marketing agency with verticals that we decided to focus on. And early on, we decided let's verticalize, but we decided we would jump in a lot of verticals. We did plumber SEO and roofer SEO and dental SEO. We were just going to have a bunch of verticals. And we just started getting success in the plumbing space early, started getting some wins, and decided it was just so much easier to say, okay, let's be the very best in this little pocket and go down that path instead of trying to keep all of these other balls in the air, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the common theme. Everybody that I talk to, everyone seems to agree, and I do too, that the sooner you can find your niche, the better. But unfortunately, when you're new to the industry, it's very tempting to just go very broad, right? Because you can kind of just walk down your town and knock on doors and get some clients, but that's not always, going to be good in the long run.
Yeah.
Josh, you shared a tip with me when we were putting notes together for this. In terms of niching, to position yourself as the go-to expert. And this was an interesting idea that I hadn't, thought of or seen many people talk about. But you said, get the list by joining the association. The money is not in the list, it's in your relationship to the list. Tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean by joining the association?
Yeah, so I mean, oftentimes we think we're going to join a niche and we're going to, be the experts in that space. And because we're in a niche, like we're just magically going to be attractive to everyone in that world. Well, there's enough people doing the niche thing now, and the quality of the list that you have is mission critical, right? Just because you've scraped or something purchased a list of hundreds of or thousands of companies in a space doesn't mean they're going to think of you as the go-to expert. Doesn't mean that they're going to just magically enter your world and want you to show them what you can do. And so I think the quality of the list that you have is paramount. And what I found is usually the best list is somebody that has pre-vetted themselves and has invested something to kind of show that they're in that space. And so what better play than to find the national association and sub-associations within your niche and join it. And by joining it, you really get two benefits. So I'll just, as an example, we work with plumbing and HVAC companies. We joined the National Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association. And by joining that, we got a list of the members, and we know that they're legitimate companies, that they're in business, and we've got proper contact details, which is really important. We also had the ability to draft on affinity, right? So instead of calling these people or emailing them blind, because we're members of the association, we can reach out and say, hey, we're fellow members of this association. We wanted to introduce ourselves. We wanted to invite you to something we've got coming up. And that really can shortcut the process and help you, get access to a legitimate list. I find that so many agencies wind up with bad contact details, and they're sending hundreds, if not thousands of contacts and emails per week, but they're really not getting any traction.
That makes complete sense. So let me ask you, when you go to these agencies, do you find that they're welcoming to marketers, or is it more like you have to really be, work your way in there, because it's sort of like letting, the fox into the hen house?
I mean, I find that the association they're always looking for additional streams of income, right? And so you can join as either an industry partner or an affiliate partner. And as a member, you get, depending upon the association, you usually get the badge to say, look, we're affiliated with this group, and you get the list. And that may just be the names, phone numbers, and addresses. You may not get emails in most cases. But it takes time to build up trust to the place where they really welcome you in and they let you start to maybe do webinars for the group and or speak at their trade events and things like that.
It's a great idea. So Josh, I know that you work with a lot of, agencies, marketers who are just getting started. And I want to talk about the first few sales, right? That's always, the hardest hill to get over is those first couple of sales that become sticky clients, right? Not, somebody that came and churned after a month or two, but like your first real clients. When you were starting out, or I guess even now still to this day, do you guys allow people to purchase a la carte services or only packages?
So, I mean, we're a little bit different in this regard, and it may be a model that's different than most teach, but we've always had our core monthly package. I worked at my initial agency was a failure, and I was selling website design and hosting services for like one-time fees.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked at Reach Local for a couple of years, the big pay-per-click management company. And we basically had one option to sell when we were at Reach Local. And it was a monthly recurring package greater than $1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And it could go up, who knows how far. And so when I started my second agency, that was one of the things I just decided, rather than selling little piecemeal stuff, I'm going to sell what I think my clients actually need. I'm going to get a monthly recurring fee. And by simplifying my options in that way, it really was part of the reason we were able to accelerate our growth.
Yeah. And I mean, I found that in my experience over at Customer Bloom is, the package makes clients stick around for a long time, but the a la carte can be tempting because it's oftentimes an easier sell, right? So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in your experience, what do you think's the easiest sell?
Whew. I think the easiest client you can land would be someone in your personal sphere of influence or somebody that you can meet with face to face. And so I think what you're trying to get to is, you're trying to land that first 2 or 3 clients in any niche, let alone a specific niche.
Mm-hmm.
I would make a short list. Here's everybody that I know that owns a business. Here's a local BNI group that I can join. Here's a local chamber of commerce I can get involved in. And I would try and meet with as many people face to face and just kind of tell them what you're looking to do. Say that you're looking to specialize in one particular vertical and ask if they can make an introduction for you. That's how we landed our first couple of clients. And me personally, I would still, sell a monthly recurring fee, even though it might be easier to sell an a la carte.
Sure.
You're going to get something that you can predict and something you can build a business on, instead of something that you kind of land and goes away and land and goes away.
True. So I think we're both in agreement that, you want to get to your winning package as quickly as you can, but creating a package like that takes years of experience, right? So what do you think is the best way, or how do you teach young marketers or young agency owners to, how do I avoid that pitfall? How do I most quickly figure out like what I should be bundling up?
Yeah, I mean, the way I try to explain it is, pretend like your brother-in-law or your cousin is going to be your client, and they happen to be in the niche that you're trying to serve. And if that brother-in-law or that cousin came to you and said, what do I need? You'd try and figure out what I do that would provide a tangible, measurable result, right? What would be the right mix of services?
Yeah.
And if the package fits that environment, I think you're going to be safe, right? Oftentimes we get into these activity-based packages. It's like, we're going to throw a reputation package, or we're going to post on social media, or we're going to do some random thing where, you need to know what's going to work and what's not, but try and build something that's at least has the best hypothesis to generate a tangible, measurable return for the client that you work with.
And are there a couple of easy ones like Yext? Do you recommend people throw Yext in at the beginning? Because that's a pretty easy sell, right?
Absolutely. And I know that HighLevel now has the ability to give you the volume pricing that like the larger agencies like us get, right out of the gates for your clients. So I think that Yext should be part of any standard package, right? Get your client ranked, get them online reviews, make sure their website's built to convert. These are fundamental things that are going to
like that. Make sure the Google local business is all set up right. I mean, this is all really low-hanging fruit that I think, if I were talking to somebody, is a pretty easy package to put together that, you know, covers the core,
No
core
doubt.
bits and pieces. Awesome. Let me see what the next question I have for you is, okay, so talking about packages, and we talked about how it can be tempting to go a la carte. Another challenge that I think we always faced at my last agency was seeing something shiny, new, and thinking, should we change our packages? How frequently do you guys change your packages at Plumber and HVAC?
Always tempted to add some new shiny thing, right?
Right?
I mean, we don't change it that often. Like we've had a core package that we've been selling kind of since day one. It's very very proven, right? You know, the fundamental things: good website, build to convert,
Mm-hmm.
you know, local SEO, some paid search, and we try and run any new thing that we add through the filter of, is this truly going to drive a tangible, measurable result for the client? And then and only then do we beta test it and kind of prove it on a handful of clients, and then start to roll it out across our, you know, core program.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've gone down that road of shifting packages too frequently, and then you just sort of end up all over the place. So,
Yeah.
good point. Josh, another tip that you had sent in your notes that I really loved was, and I think this is really common, right? We saw the industry sort of, I would say in the past, you know, 3 or 4 years, it was like, hey, we can get you leads. Leads, leads, leads. It's all about leads. You need them, we can get them. And then the sort of journey of a marketer, you start to realize, wow, okay, I got a bunch of clients, I'm generating them leads, but hey, they're not really all that happy. Why is that? Because they're telling me these leads stink. And then you look into why and you're like, wait a minute, these leads don't stink. You stink at converting them. And your tip that you had sent was, don't just sell leads, sell lead conversions. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, the lowest common denominator is, I'm going to get you ranked, or I'm going to get you traffic. And then now everybody's talking about, I'm going to get you leads, I'm going to make the phone ring.
Mm-hmm.
We were guilty of this for years. We were like,
Mm-hmm.
look, we're going to set up an amazing website. It's going to be built to convert. We're going to drive traffic. Your phone's going to ring off the hook. If you don't do anything with the lead on the other side, that's your problem. And that was kind of like the norm within the industry.
Yep,
I think
totally.
the agencies that succeed going into the future are going to be solving for, like, how do we help you convert more of those leads into sales? And of course, HighLevel is instrumental in this, right? Because we can put marketing automation in place and make sure that web forms get followed up with immediately, that unconverted phone calls get added to a drip sequence via text and email and everything else, and really solve for that. And it gives you two massive advantages. The first is you provide better results for your client, right? What they really want is more revenue, right? They want more sales and more income. And so if you can do that, it's great. But it also positions you differently than the competition, because everybody's still talking about getting you ranked, driving you better traffic, driving you better Facebook leads. But only the smart marketers, the ones probably in this group, are thinking the next level, which is, how do we take those leads and convert them into sales for our clients at the highest level possible?
Yeah. And, you know, that's what drew me to HighLevel, is what you can do with it to automate a lead to conversion without, you know, your client staff even having to get involved. But I think the next piece of the journey is really about sales training. Do you guys do sales training with your clients?
We don't specifically do sales training for our clients, but we have, basically, there's industry coaches within the home services space that's what they do. And we're very strategically aligned. When a client is struggling or their dispatches are struggling to convert those calls into sales, we connect them with those industry partners, and it's a great reciprocal relationship.
That makes sense. They can feed you clients and you can feed them clients. And that's another benefit of the niche, right? I mean, when you're operating in one niche, you can really get to know the top people in that niche that are complementary to your business, like you're saying, and make deals with them. Because I really do think, you know, most businesses, they don't have salespeople on staff. They don't know what it really means to work or close a lead. And that, going back to what you said, we were totally guilty of that as well. It's like, hey, we got you all these leads. If you didn't convert them, you're on your own. But in the end, that comes back to bite you, because they're not going to stick around and be your client for a year or 2 years if that's your mentality. So you need to be willing to help them solve, you know, the next steps. Talking about automation, The third tip that you sent that I thought was really interesting is put an automation in place to follow up on every inbound call. What did you mean by that? Like, flesh that out for me.
Yeah, so we work with home services, right? If you're dealing with home services, the way that a lead comes in is different than a lot of the other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 90% of the leads come in via phone call, right? People want to dial in the number, talk to the person at the front desk, and schedule a plumber or schedule someone to come out to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And now generating tens of thousands of leads in the home services space, we find that something like 40% of the calls don't get booked, even though they wanted a plumber and they were, in the local area. They just didn't book it right then and there. They said, I'm going to talk to the tenant, or I'm going to talk to my wife, or let me check around and I'll call you back. And these guys have literally no follow-up for those unconverted leads at all whatsoever. And there's nobody, like you said, from a sales perspective, that's going to be following up with those people.
Right.
And so we're trying to figure out how can we bridge the gap for these unconverted phone leads. And so all we did was we started ringing our calls through into HighLevel, and then putting them onto a pipeline, and then basically dragging them into a bucket, right? If they converted, we move them into the converted bucket or booked. If they didn't convert, we move them into not converted. And all it does is send a simple text message after that call. Hey, this is Tracy over here at the Plumbing Doctor. Thanks for your call today. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help, right? And then continues to text message them until they write back, we already booked it elsewhere, or hey, we're ready to schedule it now. And we're finding that those unconverted leads that weren't getting touched at all are now writing back, and they're calling in and they're scheduling appointments, which again makes our clients more money, which makes us more sticky for them and gets them happier and more excited about what we're doing for them.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that we as marketers often overlook the inbound call because it's like, oh, an inbound call is a conversion, but you're right. A huge percentage of them are not. Everybody likes to shop around. Everybody's hesitant to commit. So that makes total sense. Put in and it sounds like you're just doing it, triggering off of a pipeline stage or something, like drag them into this stage and it'll send out the automation. And
exactly. And I want to give credit where credit's due. I was out at Rob Bailey's event a couple weeks ago, and he and Haplin and I put our heads together, and they helped us kind of figure out how to build that out. So I want to make sure I give kudos to the.
All right, that's great. Yeah, Rob was just on. We just did an episode with Rob, so that's awesome.
Yep.
That's great. So Josh, all right, tell us about Seven Figure Agency. The URL is sevenfigureagency.com, all spelled out, right?
Yep. So, I mean, Seven Figure Agency is basically my coaching program, showing digital marketing agencies, typically at kind of that six-figure level, doing somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 per month or more in revenue. Maybe stuck because they're generalists or they don't have the right program packaging, and they're trying to figure out, how do I grow this thing? How do I scale it? And how do I get to a place where I don't have to necessarily do it all myself, so I can have more income, more freedom, and a bigger impact in my life. And so, that's what I do with Seven Figure Agency. Just kind of show how I was able to choose a niche, position ourselves as the expert, and grow our agency.
Great. So it sounds like an opportunity for not just brand new entrepreneurs or marketers, but people who've been doing it who sort of hit that plateau. And I do think that is a pretty common plateau. It's hard to break. There are certain plateaus, but the seven-figure one is definitely a mountain to get over. How many people are in the group?
There's about 115 agencies in the group now.
Wow.
I'm on a mission to help 100 digital marketing agencies get to seven figures over the next 5 years. And so it's kind of my passion project, because I know the impact it had on my life and the options I was able to have once I got out of struggle and into a more affluent place in my life and in my business.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you definitely know what you're doing, Josh. And I'll put the link in the description. Highly recommend checking it out. I know that Josh is top in the field, and you've been doing this for a while now. So definitely check out sevenfigureagency.com. Josh, thanks again for joining us. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot, guys.